Thank you, and hello, everybody. Welcome to Dashboards That Scale. We have a number of interesting topics to share today, but let's jump in because there are quite a few things Ethan and I need to show you. So on that note, hello, I'm Brandon Huff. I'm the head of sales here, and I'm joined today by Ethan Foulkes, the founder of Magic Button Labs. And we really focus on helping our customers get the most out of Monday.com to work faster, work smarter by bringing the tools, expertise, and know-how to all of our clients. And we do that through proven architectures, enablement, and ongoing support. Now, Ethan and I come from decades in the enterprise tooling space, but we've really focused on Monday.com for the last 4 or so years because it's so intuitive, easy to use, and provides great visibility. Now, on that visibility note, that's what we're here to talk about today. Let's talk about visibility around dashboarding and how we set things up and what that really looks like, as well as some important considerations you'll need to take. So first, we're going to talk about some of the foundation. What's important around dashboards? What do we need to see or expect to see? Next, we'll talk about the dashboard architecture. What do you need to have in place in your Monday instance to get the most out of it? And lastly, we're going to look at the different levels of dashboards we have, how they're related and linked together, and do some demos of those. So jumping in, first part here is, what do these dashboards tell us? More often than not, it's a fairly negative take. We look at dashboards because I want to see what's wrong. That's not always the case. In fact, sometimes it tells us really good things. So we try to steer away from the negative connotation, but instead, the dashboards tell us that something has changed and that there are trends over time we should be looking at. Now, are they good changes, bad changes? Well, we don't know. That's what we need to ask some of these questions at the bottom for. What's causing the change? Can we dig into our information in our dashboard to know what's causing it? And what does that change tell us? Is it a good change? Is it a process gap? Is someone doing a really good job or missing how they should be working? We just don't know. And lastly, okay, if we have that information, what should we do? So ultimately, these dashboards help us gather more information to make the best decisions and take the best action that we can. So what ultimately goes into a good dashboard? Well, one of the common trends we've seen is both good and bad dashboards often look the same, and they can be very visually appealing and be a terrible dashboard, or be very functional and not that pretty to look at. Luckily, with Monday.com, they can be very visually appealing and easy to set up, but we need to be intentional about what it's set up for. What role, what purpose, what data, and who needs to see that is very important. It also needs to be easy to understand. A very complicated report or dashboard doesn't often help. You instead have more questions about how the data is related or correlated that really doesn't help you take any action or understand what's going on. So all these are important considerations inside of your dashboard that we need to make sure we have. So before we jump to the next section, we actually asked some questions of what people wanted to see and what problems really did they have. Ethan asked this on LinkedIn as a poll, and we found some interesting information here. People wanted to know which deals are quietly shrinking, who's not updating their work, and what's about to fall through the cracks is most overwhelming response. And we'll be able to show you a lot of this stuff, but answers to this is more than just a dashboard. It really leads into an architecture and how you set up your work to enable the dashboards to answer these questions. And so with that, let's look at what that scalable architecture looks like. And this is broken down into a couple of key areas. Really, we need a home for each business use case, meaning, and most people are already set up this way in Monday, is your board for a team? Is it for a product? Is it for a workflow or a service that we're providing? Or is it a different sort of scenario? But when you commingle many of these in one place, you often have a harder time scaling because if you have too much data and sometimes the wrong data in the wrong place. Next up is that board structure. We need to make sure that we've separated out where we work, what we call a workflow or process board, from some of the data that we have, and we call a master data board, things that aren't often changing very often, but are key data that we have. Thirdly, we take those two together. How do we take that data and make them related? This is when we do intentionally bring data into one spot. We do this through what they call mirroring in Monday, but we're effectively reflecting that data set into one board, helping us bring together multiple use cases and a much richer data set that we then can report on and can scale across different levels. And the last item here is we can do this across all the applications, not just in CRM, not just in work management or dev. We can do it across all of them so that you have the right scalable architecture across it. And so it's a very important piece of this to have this set up. Now, we covered some of this at our webinar earlier this week around integrations and around that structure. We'll be covering more about this intentional board structure and how we leverage that in different ways in future webinars. But for now, let's move on to the different levels that we have. So we often see, and we do recommend having 3 levels of dashboards. We want an executive one at the very high level. What is the big high level view across all these teams that teams need to see? Next up is the middle layer in management. How are we relating multiple teams together, and how would that roll up to an executive team? And then, of course, the team view. How do we manage our work on a day-to-day basis? And we get the question, can I just do two? Our executive and management are the same. You can, but you then start commingling some of those different pieces. We do recommend all 3 specifically, even if you don't have that role or structure in your organization. It does help pull out and focus your intentions and what you're seeing at a high level across them. But ultimately, each of these provides different data for different purposes, right? The executives want to see something different. Management and team members all have different needs, different expectations, and different data they're managing across it. But we found the best result is when all these pieces all work together. They're intentionally designed. We know how they're structured to make sure that you get the most out of it. And we'll be showing you how all of these work together. Now, with that, Ethan, can you go into some of the different levels that we have here and some of the importance of what you expect to see?
Yes, 100%. And you kind of nailed it. There's 3 levels, and you really do want to have all 3 levels and have them be distinct. And so when I think about an executive level dashboard, it's helping me ask and answer the question, is the organization meeting the goals required for our strategy to work? Like, we have a strategy, we know where we want to go, what we want to do. Are people doing the right things to advance that strategy? At the management level, it is my team. If I own a team, if I manage a team, is my team doing what they're supposed to do? And where do I need to help them in service of the executive level strategy? Right. And then at a team and an individual level, really, like, where should I focus my attention? What questions do I need to answer? What tasks do I need to do in order for the team to run well, to roll up to the executive strategy? So these things all feed into each other. I thought this is a fun webinar. So Brandon, maybe we can just quickly tell the story of how you and I landed on this call. So I'll kick off with how I actually joined your world first. You had helped start and scale quite a large consulting company, and I joined once it was pretty darn big, the 4th member of a team that you were leading. And when I joined, it was to help manage the team at the management level. But then internally, part of our strategic initiative that you and I were working on was, how do we build all of this architecture in the tool set that we were using to have this visibility for executive management and team level? And so I was there for about 2 years with you, and that is while helping you manage. We built all this architecture. And then I went off and did my own thing, which was essentially very quickly started Magic Button Labs. And you knocked on my door maybe a year-ish ago, and you said, hey, I really want to do more with Monday. It seems really cool. Can you show me what you're doing? Maybe I can help out. And I'll let you tell your side of the story. And then we'll do some show and tell.
Yeah, as I came in with some expectations on what I would see. What would I see in the dashboards? Where were they at? I knew they were going quickly in Monday's rapidly growing ecosystem, and I expected to be starting kind of where we did previously. Let's start from scratch. We're going to build the architecture. We're going to do the pieces. And Ethan stopped me and said, "We already have it." And I said, well, what do you mean you already have it? Well, we've already built all of this. We have the layers, we have the work. We're managing our business inside of Monday right now. And I was wowed at how fast it came together, how detailed it was, how much it helped manage the workflow. And back to the dashboarding part, you were able to show me data that took me years to try to accumulate across multiple tools in the previous company. And so it really helped me see the power of Monday dashboarding, but also if you set this up the right way, it's all streamlined, it's seamless, and it really helped us manage and make decisions daily as we went through it.
Yep. 100%. Awesome. So that was fun because you thought you were going to help me do what I helped you do. And I was like, nope, already in place. Monday made that easy. I need your help scaling the sales and delivery team because I have all that architecture because of Monday. So why don't I just click through? We can talk through the journey. We'll show kind of what I showed you, and then what you and I started refining. But yeah, kick us off with executive dashboards from a high level, and then I can show it.
Sure. So, executive dashboards, again, it's the highest level. This is really where we want to see the big picture. And this is where those trends over time become really important. Now, Monday is used to tracking individual items that are current. So we've had to get creative in how we can actually track and be able to show these trends over time. Some of them we'll be able to show you here in the demos. But we're looking at more strategy. Is the business headed in the right direction? The very high level questions, not some of the nitty gritty details. So that's where at executive level, we tend to see more of these trends over time, comparing and contrasting different views, different aspects, different layers of how the business is run. But we really got to be careful. It's real easy to start going down multiple levels into this, and you can rabbit hole into something you can never come back out of. So be very intentional about what data you share in executive dashboard and that it actually meets the needs of the business and not at a team or individual level or other way there. So trying to align executive dashboards to KPIs or to internal initiatives, high level things is often the right plan. You're comparing everything at the top level to be able to get there. But Ethan, I'm hoping you can show us more about that in the demo.
I will. So I'm going to share my screen in a moment, but executive level dashboard for me is a mile wide and an inch deep. So we want to see a lot of things from a very high level. And so that's what I'm going to share here in a moment. And rather than just show you widgets in Monday, as hopefully you all know you're using Monday, it's pretty. Widgets are easy to add, fields are easy to add. I wanted to show you a cohesive story. And so where we're going to focus all this show and tell now on is what we call the customer journey, because every company that makes money has customers that are flowing through your company, often from marketing to sales to accounting, so you get paid, to customer success perhaps, and delivery, and then hopefully you're selling more and more. So that's the customer journey. So we're going to show you some of the dashboards we built for the customer journey. Let me share my screen here. I'll go over to this. And Brandon, can you see the customer journey executive dashboard?
Sure can.
Okay. So the first thing to notice, and if you've watched some of our other webinars, you know that Monday has, I think it's here, yeah, many products. So CRM, dev, work management, and service. We use all of them for the customer journey. Most of the stuff is across the CRM and the work management products. But right now, I'm not in any of those workspaces. I'm actually in our strategy to execution journey world. And this is where myself and Brandon and our whole executive team are focused on our goals, our objectives, our initiatives, all the open projects, everything's there. So that's a wonderful place for our customer journey executive dashboard. So what are we looking at? We're looking at that journey from marketing and referral channels through leads and lead management, through the sales opportunity workflow, to the accounting workflow, and then over to the world of delivering that value to our clients. And you can see it's very high level, but this tells a story just like reading a book. So the first thing is we get a lot of referral business from Monday.com. They bring us in to help clients early on their journey, or if they've already been on the journey. And you can see we get passed around, and we're meeting more and more Monday reps that want to work with us. So yeah, I've got more friends at Monday. And then because of that, we can see that looking at the leads and opportunities board, we can see that our lead flow is going up. So yeah, that's great. That's the hockey stick that we wanted. Brandon, help me expand sales. We've got everything in place. And if you're getting more leads and you've got a good product, you're going to see your opportunities go up. So we're closing more deals with our what we call our Scale Kits line of business, and that's by count, and we can see it by dollar value and bookings, and then we can see some accounting views. So how many hours have our customers signed contract for and committed to, but we haven't yet sent invoices or gotten paid. We can see how many hours are paid but not yet delivered. And we'll come back to this one because that's a -20 number. I know Brandon wants to tell that story. And then from the delivery world, I want to see how many pre-flight customer success kickoffs are happening every month, how many implementations are kicking off every month, and how many closeout processes, because we're very diligent about asking for feedback and can we do a case study and a video testimonial and how are those going. So I have all this high level visibility right at my fingertips. And then the dashboards make it easy to put some text as to why we built these widgets this way. So you can add little text widgets for explanations. So that's the high level dashboard. Brandon, we can jump into this -20 number, but any thoughts reflecting back? Of course, we've refined this since you joined, and of course, you've really helped, and the rest of the team has done an amazing job creating these hockey stick growth trends for us. But what was your takeaway when you first saw this?
When I first saw it, I loved a number of pieces of it. That it was here, number one, you had created it was great, but we could dive into some of the details in each of the different views to be able to see what that looks like. And I'm sure we can show that here in a minute. But it really helped highlight, some of the questions. My questions are immediately different coming in, trying to help support the teams of, okay, where are the new leads coming from? How are we managing that? I can now ask that question that once we see the trend, and now we're having a richer conversation instead of how are you tracking leads? Are you tracking leads? We now see what's here, right? But it also brought up some other process questions that we found out. So let's take a look at that -20 hour. Most of us
Yeah,
are,
so we look at
uh,
this, and by the way, Brandon, you and I look at this like literally at least once a week, and with the team monthly. But this number's been positive for a long time, right?
yeah,
It switched to negative fairly recently, but that doesn't mean it's bad because we played this conversation out.
yeah. I was a little bit triggered when I first saw it. Oh my God, a negative number. I thought we were doing so well. What's going on? Well, as we talked to Eric, who's managing our delivery teams here and managing that, we realized this isn't actually a problem at all. This is a good thing. This is undelivered hours. A negative undelivered is actually a positive here. And what it starts showing us is we're ahead of schedule. The team is more efficient with the hours than what we are allocating for our client, meaning we have more hours available to help support our clients. This is a positive thing. We're not behind schedule. We're not over scope. The team is effective and efficient. And that's what that number tells us. So it's helpful for us to see what that is. Then we have to ask the next question, is -20 a lot or a little? We have to get into that. As we spread it out over the number of clients we have, it's really not that much, but it's helpful to understand order of magnitude and scale of these things as you start looking at these numbers and then doing some sanity checks. Like, is our unpaid hours match what we think it should be if we do some mental math and kind of look at the contracts? It's really helpful to help us reconcile the two.
Yep. Yep. So that was wonderful because it essentially landed with, oh, cool, we're ahead of schedule on these milestones. The customer agrees we're there. So we fired off those invoices. So these unpaids are going to switch to paids. This number is going to go to positive. All well and good. Eric understands why. We understand why. And we're all watching this because Eric has this view over in the world we're about to show. And Eric knows, yeah, keep going, but keep your eye on it and do make sure that they pay these invoices. Don't let this number get to 100 or 200. Just keep your eye on it. So that's investigating a change, which is a negative number, but not necessarily bad. But then we also want to maximize positives. So as I look at these up and to the right things and on leads and this new plateau on deal closes, that's something I really want to understand. Why is that happening? How do I make it continue to happen? How do we make it go even higher? And so for that, we're going to go down a level. We're going to leave the executive dashboard that spans all the boards and go look at our opportunities workflow. But
Can you
Brandon?
highlight one more thing? The connected boards. What's really powerful
Yes.
here is we're showing boards across multiple products in Monday and different board views across that too to aggregate this data up. And that's
Yes.
possible because of how it was set up so that we can pull the data, but we had to be intentional. What data exists where? Why do we want to see that? What numbers do we think are good in this sort of process to make sure we're showing the right sort of stuff? So again, very powerful across all the different tools here to see it in one spot.
You got it. And you'll notice each of these widgets. Oh, and by the way, so yeah, so connected boards, this was super easy to build. We just built a dashboard in Monday and we wired it into the different boards that we wanted to feed into this dashboard. And then we just built widgets pointing at one or more of the boards. And then you'll notice I just told you which boards we're looking at visually so you can see. Makes it real easy. So that's how we pull multiple boards into a single dashboard in Monday. And then from there, we go, okay, so now we want to look at the opportunities board. And so I'm going to switch over here to this tab where I've loaded up the opportunities board, right? We see that same little tree icon. And what I'm showing here is our default working view. So this is the board that Brandon and I and the sales team are working day in and day out to close deals. But I want to show you something else that Brandon talked about, which is we're feeding not just opportunity workflow data into this board, we're feeding data from connected workflows and connected teams that are relevant to doing this work and to doing the dashboards I'm about to show here. So very quickly, I want to just show you I have this connections view, and you can see that our opportunities board is connected to a lot of other boards. So first of all, we're connecting each opportunity to a company. And because of that, we're pulling in industry data, number of employees. Do we have a mutual NDA in place? If I scroll over a little,
And if I
it
can
has my
jump in, Ethan.
refresh, Brandon. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's good. So what he's showing you are some of the integrations that are possible as well, where we pull data and reconcile it to make your boards a lot more powerful. A quick plug to go check out our integrations webinar we just did. But it's an important piece here that lets you, again, pull in richer data and manage it all in one spot.
Yes, exactly. That mutual NDA is actually exists over in PandaDoc or a tool like DocuSign. We're flowing it over into Monday, and then we're showing it right here in the opportunities view, which is magical. When we tag a referrer, we're pulling in our Slack channel. What's the source of that referrer? We tag contacts, and we can see that. We're also tagging it over to the delivery, Eric's team, so we can see who's in charge of it, how's the project going from a health and from a status perspective. So everything's right here from a connected data view as well. So back to the default view, this is where we're working the deal. It's an opportunity workflow, right? So Brandon and I are focused on follow-up and follow-up cadence and ACV, which stands for annual contract value. So we can value the deal, and then probability. How confident do we feel about that? We're capturing things like recordings, all that good stuff that you want in order to manage your sales pipeline. And again, I'm showing you customer journey, CRM, work management, but all of these apply to whatever tool, whatever use case you're building in Monday. All right. So now I'm honed in on the opportunity workflow. There is an executive dashboard just for this data set. Let's take a look at it. Ready? So we're going to go over to the executive dashboard. It's just a view on this board. So we just click over here, and we're going to see executive level, what I'd consider lagging indicator type data or high level data. So let's look through this. We're seeing over the past year, how many deals have we won for this line of business? 42. What's the service revenue? 281,000. How many opportunities came to this board in the last year? 115. How many did we lose? 38. How many closes by month, revenue by month, and then we're pulling in the industry and the referrer data that I just showed you. So what's our top 10 categories for Q3? Yep, we're heavy in marketing and education. And who are those referrers that are sending us these deals? We've got John Carter and Daniel White. All of this data is right here from an executive level. Right? Brandon, any thoughts or commentary on this level of dashboarding?
Yes, mostly comparing this to the one we saw earlier. There's still executive dashboards, but still two slightly different audiences here, right? The last one we saw was across multiple lines of business trends over time. This executive one is at a high level for, let's say, a business unit and how it would be run. So now we do need some more of the numbers. Trends are still important, but we're getting into more of the numerical side and charting side rather than just the high level trends. So it's both still executive, but both slightly different focus that are important for you to think about of how you would structure your data and can it show you this sort of information.
Yep, exactly. So that's our executive. So if our first dashboard was a mile wide and an inch deep, we shortened it a little bit. We're a little less wide and a little deeper on the data, essentially. Let's head back over. Let's talk about management dashboards for a minute. Brandon, you want to talk through these, and then I'll show the management level.
Sure. So that management level is the next layer down, and it's honestly the most important one to really set up correctly because it's real easy for your data at a management level to either go too high to executive real fast or go too low to team. And there's often some overlap in between the different boards, but that's okay. But you got to be, again, specific and intentional about what you're tracking. So now we start getting into a different level of conversation. Are these performance indicators by person? Are they health metrics? Are they gaps in things that aren't being done? Will it show us process issues? We're trying to get to more of a granular how that particular business unit is being run and what we expect to see at that next level down. So we want to use this in an intelligent way. Again, make sure you have the right workflows and the right data there to allow that to happen. But we do need to be careful with a couple things. We need to show some of the problems. We want it to highlight that. So some of this comes back into that intended architecture and workflow of where are those gaps? What do we want to see? We need to be able to see that trail based on your workflow here. We can't just show that there's a gap and we have no idea how it got there. So we want to understand why is it there and how do we set that up? But we also need to make sure we're not going too high level for executives and not also just duplicating what our teams are tracking in a master data board here. So not all that helpful. So Ethan, if you can show us some of the differences here in this next demo of what that next layer down looks like. And I think you're going to see immediately some of the different widgets that we're using and the granularity and the details that are inside of it.
Yep, you bet. So let's do that. We'll come right back over here. So again, we're on the opportunities board, the executive level dashboard. Let's switch over and look at the management level dashboard. So from a high level, what are we looking at here? We've got some very high level data grouped right here. So we've got how many active opportunities do we have? We're not looking at the historical stuff right now. We need to manage the team. So 22 active opportunities in this instance. The total annual contract value for those is valued at 163,000. And the open opportunities by salesperson, you can see myself and Brandon. We've got JD and Eric and Carolyn in here as well. So there's our high level data. And then we're going to look at some other things over here. So what's our weighted deal value? If you remember, I showed you taking the annual contract value. We're also saying what the probability is. How confident are we? And that's 63,000. So that's a bit of a gap. And we look here, if I go down a level, I've got the average probability is 56%. Okay. That's all right. That's a decent number. I could also quickly build a widget that says, what's my average probability based on deal status, right? So in progress versus intent versus back office. And we'd see some different numbers there. Now, also, and we talked about this, what good is executive level metrics if you're missing data? And so if I look at this number, my instant reaction would be interesting. 163,000, only 63,000. Is that because we're not confident in deals, in our likelihood of closing the deals, or have we not filled out some data? And so that's what we've got down here. Where in this pipeline do we have the ACV or the probability empty? And immediately we see, oh, we do have some of those. This should be blank. But we've got 4 deals, 2 from JD, 1 from Eric, and 1 from me. Now, the beauty of Monday in the dashboards is they're highly interactive. So I can click in here and go to full screen mode. And now I can see this bigger, but I can go to split mode. And it shows me the data right below here of which deals are missing some of these data fields, right? The other thing we'll notice, so we can also fill this out right here. We can click in and we can answer these questions and they will clear immediately from the widgets, right? Now, Brandon, we were talking about this earlier. Isn't it interesting that I'm showing 4 deals up here, but 5 deals down here? And that's because down here, it's showing me the actual data table and it's saying, hey, this one, but we don't know who the salesperson is. So again, just to show you how quick and easy it is to edit these once you have the architecture in place, I come in here and there's just a setting to show empty values. And if I click this, now it includes the blank salesperson. I can see, oh, very cool. There you go. So this allows us to trace down, is it the types of deals we're getting? Is it the process? Or is it literally we're not filling out data that needs to be filled out? Same thing over here, needs follow-up. There's 11, but I want to see by salesperson. So yeah, I'm the biggest offender here. There's 4 deals that I need to follow up on. I also have the biggest workload. That makes sense. We can do the same thing. We can go into full screen. We can go to split mode. And here we can see the details on that. So I can see the actual details. I can also filter by person. So, maybe I want to ask Brandon, hey man, why aren't you following up on your deals? I can click in there and I can say, tell me about PayPal, AT&T, and Schlumberger, right? And hopefully Brandon's answer, which I already know because he's very diligent, is Ethan, I have followed up on them. I've just been too busy to update the CRM. And so I can say, well, hey, Brandon, let's update it right now, right? Because I know you do want to sleep tonight. And right from here, he can come in here and he can type followed up yesterday, do an update. We have a workflow where that update will knock it from follow up needed back to in progress, and it'll clear it right off of these views. So again, that's a nice way to be able to drill down and actually action on the gaps that we're finding through this. Brandon, any thoughts on that?
Just one item here, mostly around more of that sanity check. The average probability of those ACVs. Totally common problem of knowing where it is, but we now need to be, I'll say, concerned with, well, average probability of what part of the workflow? All of them? Well, we don't expect to have ACV information early on, and somewhere in the middle, it may be low. And obviously, as we get towards the end, it's really high. So we need to start asking harder questions of how do we define and what should we be counting as each metric. So in this case here, it should probably only be once we've identified them as being qualified. But what's that look like in your workflow? How do you track
Yeah.
it? We need to make sure we
Yep.
exclude the things that can skew the data, because then we can say, well, we feel really good about a 80% close rate if you're only updating it late and you're only counting the last stage. That's not
Yes.
really going to help your business process. So just
Yep.
be critical and aggressive and make sure it's reflecting what it
Yep.
it it needs to, and that it really reflects how your team should be operating.
Yes. And what that highlights is what matters is that you have this architecture in place that we're showing you. So there's a home where you know to go and you're feeding all the right data because with that in place, you're going to evolve your dashboards in real time as you evolve your workflows and you evolve your process and you get more and more people using Monday. So what Brandon just said, when you get there, it's as easy as coming to the right dashboard, adding a widget, saying that you want a chart. It adds a new chart. You come in, you do the settings. It's just a few clicks. What do I want to look at? X, Y axis and filter. And then you just drag that chart right up to the right section and you add it there and you have that visibility. And so once architecture is in place, taking what Brandon just said and evolving your dashboard, literally you're talking about like a 5-minute process. And that's why we're able to build all of this stuff so quickly. I'm not going to go into it here, but just as a placeholder for thoughts, if interested in the customer journey piece, we also model all of our accounting data inside of Monday in the opportunities board so that we can automatically send it over to QuickBooks for invoicing and then feed data back on who's paid, which is quite magical. Back to our previous webinar we did. And so we have accounting and we explain and we show the things that are overdue and things that need to be modeled, and then sales commission policies, and we show all of that data right here as well. So anything that you want to manage, data's on the board, you come here and you put that stuff in.
So
So that's
I
the
have,
management level. Go ahead.
yeah, I want to add one more item there if you can scroll down, Ethan.
Yeah.
Those views are only possible because of the integrations with Monday. We can pull in data from QuickBooks. We can understand which clients have signed by integrating with other document signature tools like DocuGen, right? We have ways that we can plug that in so we can make Monday our command central. Like it's all here. We're not bouncing to other tools. We can help manage our business in one place instead of having to go constantly reconciling data between different reports and different tools. This really does a great job of streamlining that.
Yes, agree. All right. Management, let's talk through team. We'll show that and
Yeah,
you can take us home.
yeah. One more level. So at the team level, there are dashboards and we can set them up. We often find those dashboards are really just views. The teams already have their boards, and it's really how do we sort those views with that? And we'll show you both of the options here. But it's important to make them personalized for role by use case by problem you need to solve. Is it open tickets? Is it unresponded to leads? We need to make sure it's really focused on the things that are most important for your business. And so as you do that, leverage it to make editing and updates easy, tracking at recurring meetings, making sure you've considered those items to visually know what's a problem and what needs to be done is really key at this team level. And Ethan,
Yep.
if you can highlight how we do some of that too.
Yep, I'll show you. So team level and or individual level dashboards, we'll head right back here. Like Brandon said, sometimes they're just views, right? So a default view, there's a view for back office processing, there's a view for your closed won deals so you can see how deliveries are going, but these are more table-based and workflow views. But still sometimes you can think of those as personal dashboards. But let me show you how easy it is to actually turn a management level dashboard into a personal dashboard. So the management level dashboard is looking across everybody on the team and all the open deals. If we want to make this personal, Monday has some cool filtering. So first of all, you may have found there's this person thing. You can just click somebody's name, and it'll show you their data. But you can also come here and you can take the filter and you can say where salesperson is me dynamic. And what that means is it's going to filter this down to the user who's logged in, which in this case is me. So it's going to show my stuff. But when I apply this filter, if Brandon was to go there, it would show Brandon his stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to say me dynamic, right? And now you see what it's done is it has filtered this down to just my deals. So now I have a dashboard level view of the things that I personally care about as a salesperson, which is quite magic. Now you can choose to simply take filters on or take filters off from the management board, or this is how easy it is to add a new dashboard. I'm going to take this management dashboard. I'm going to duplicate the view. It's going to take a moment here. You see I have this duplicate. I'm going to pull this over here. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call it the personal or the team, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to apply that filter where salesperson is me dynamic, save it to the view. And there you go. So now we have the dashboard that's meant for the personal or individual level with the filter, the dynamic filter applied. We have our management level that's always showing across the team. And now you have a home to potentially add some slightly different things that an individual might want that the manager didn't want. You've already seen how quick and easy it is to add another widget, show a little bit more detail. Maybe you want to change the widgets you're showing here so it's not always a blue circle, and that's a couple of clicks. But we won't go into that. So cool.
Alrighty, well, we covered a lot today. Let's go over some at least the high level pieces and then kind of a quick wrap up. Dashboards are not just reports. They're really about helping you manage your business at what's relevant to your teams, how your Monday instance is set up. It is very customized and customizable, but you need to apply some intentional data structure, not just at the board level, but how you want to view this with the executive teams, management teams, individuals as well. So it's very important. We do recommend all three levels to help you make sure you've stratified that data set and you understand what's important to the business, what's important to running individual teams, and what's important to each individual. While we can wrap them up, you tend to lose that visibility that I think is important with the critical businesses you have in Monday. So quick wrap up here. Did we talk too fast? Maybe, possibly. Don't worry, we're going to send a recording link here. These will be posted to our YouTube channel as well, and you can replay it whenever you'd like. And if you do have other questions, tell me more about how you set that up, Ethan, Brandon. We need to understand how it's there. Can you do that for our company? Of course we can. Reach out to us on magicbuttonlabs.com and connect with us, and we'll make sure we can help you. If you aren't registered yet, be aware we do have an actionable views webinar next Tuesday at noon Eastern. Please register for that. We'll make sure that we cover even more depth at that view level. And last but not least, if you want to go to Monday's annual conference, Elevate, here in New York, in the middle of September, and you want to save 10% off, you can use this code. Go ahead and do that. And if you are, let us know. We'd love to see you there. Ethan and I will be there to talk to Monday product people, meet our clients, and just enjoy the event. We look forward to seeing you there. But that's all we have for today. Thank you for your attendance and questions, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.